One of the difficulties with living at home is I know that the music that I listen to in my house is sometimes crazy, heavy metal, Metallica. And I also know that my mom is very sensitive. And even though her hearing has gotten worse over the years, so she can't really hear as well, I think she subconsciously hears it. And she moved, she subconsciously felt she slept better downstairs and and stuff like that, because I think it's because she's picking up on these cues, my music or, the noises, but she can't hear that well. So she doesn't realize why she's bothered, because your subconscious hears stuff, but you on a conscious level don't. So yeah, that's been difficult because I feel bad that, I can't play rock music too loud because she's a very sensitive and delicate person, and I have to be careful about what I'm playing. But at the same time, sometimes I just need to rock out, And so, I can put in my earphones, true. But the fact that I have to think about that, it's one small component to all the dozens and even hundreds of facets that go into minutia of my life. And, I just feel like after a certain age, whether it's 22 or 23, really we should just be funded by the government to get out of there, if we meet qualifications, so that things like this don't happen, where you're walking on eggshells around, a mother who really should be retired, but the Stage Orange era doesn't allow that for a 62-year-old woman. And they just keep saying you should work longer hours and more, and they don't care. Policy doesn't care. Sometimes I wonder, why can't the government just say, we were looking through our records and it looks you meet the criteria for certain programs. Why don't they just say that? Do these programs not exist? I think that they do exist, or they can exist. But the moment they reach out, then they have to admit that they have all this data on us. Then they have to admit that we're pretty much like a socialist country. And such an implication scares the masses if that comes to fruition. So it has to be tolerated and accepted that that's just the standard in this generation. And we're kind of waiting for that moment to happen where it's acceptable to say that this country has a government that carefully watches us so that we have our life in order. Because then the masses in general think that's going to lead to like an Orwellian dystopia. But there comes to a point where you have to say enough is enough. This guy has disabilities, or this guy has a certain way of thinking that 95% of society doesn't want to accommodate, or accommodate in a way without medication. The problem is on you to get diagnosed with something so that you can fit into our way of being as a political organization. Of course, it's a collective body, a collective ego that's saying this, which means it's unconscious. It's not deliberate. It's not specific. Because the moment you're in touch with your unconscious, you automatically change, or you automatically agree that there's cognitive dissonance, there's psychopathy involved, there's real selfishness involved that needs to be taken care of. And so that's why this doesn't happen. But, this has nothing really to do with my mother. It has to do with anyone in a situation like mine, or resembles my situation, where they're just not able to fit in to the extent that they can get a job, a regular job. And they weren't in a situation where they have backup plans, like myself. And we're kind of relying on something that's not a definite thing.